if you have spent any time in the romance community, whether it's reading or writing or lurking in the corners of Bookstagram, saving book recs like a maniac and not knowing when you're going to have time to read them all, then you have found Grumpy and Sunshine. It's everywhere, literally everywhere right now. And a lot of people take it like this comfort trope, like something cozy and warm, and they just leave it at that. But today I want to talk to you about why it works, and not just about why we like it, but why it works structurally in the genre. And once you understand that, then you can write it, you can spot when it's badly done, and you can definitely stop feeling guilty for having read 15 Grumpy and Sunshine books this year. I understand. It's me, I'm the problem. I have read more than 15 this year. It's me. Now let's get the definition out of the way, because Grumpy and Sunshine gets misused a lot. Grumpy is not just rude, and Sunshine doesn't mean just bubbly. That's merely surface read. Let's think for a moment about a specific character. I want to talk to you about Augustus from Beach Read by Emily Henry. This character, he's not mean, he's not cruel. He is sealed off. Something happened in his past that knocked the hope out of him, and he's rebuilt himself with these high barriers because he's tried to present a very controlled and defended version of himself to the world. Another interesting character, a grumpy character, is Aaron from the Spanish Love Deception. This guy, he barely speaks, barely reacts, and that's not being mean. That's not him being mean. It's protecting himself. Let's talk about the Sunshine characters, right? Because they each have their counterpart. January in Beach Read, she chooses optimism. She writes happily ever after for a living. That's not being naive, that's a choice, that's her life philosophy. And Catalina in the Spanish Love Deception, she keeps being warm and bright and happy, even though Aaron gives her nothing to work with. And what you actually have with these two books is two people that were shaped by very hard experiences in their lives, who landed on opposite coping strategies. And that is not just for aesthetic contrast, that is where the conflict of these stories live. Here's where it gets interesting from a craft perspective, because in romance you need the protagonists to challenge each other, not just like each other, challenge each other. Because the thing is, falling in love is not about finding a perfect person, it's about finding someone who helps you grow. And Grumpy and Sunshine does this almost automatically. The Sunshine character challenges the Grumpy character merely by existing. Like the Grumpy character expects the worst, and the Sunshine character shows up with something genuine and warm, and it creates this crisis inside the Grumpy character because he doesn't know how to react, or she doesn't know how to react. I'm just using examples where he's the Grumpy and she's the Sunshine, but it could be the other way around. For example, this book, I love this, Secretly Yours by Tessa Bailey. Julian, I wouldn't say that he's exactly a grumpy character, but it is a good example of how a closed-off person reacts when an emotional person shows up with feelings. So whenever Hallie does something emotional or ridiculous because she's very unhinged and extroverted, he doesn't know how to react. He doesn't know what to do with it because he wants her to be happy, but the way that she acts doesn't match the model he has in his mind of how people work. So that is evidence that his defenses or that his coping mechanism might be wrong. And the Grumpy character challenges the Sunshine character too, because, and this is the part that authors sometimes underwrite and underexplore, because the role of the Grumpy character in this arc is essentially to ask the Sunshine character, is your optimism real? Or is it just a performance? And can you hold on to it when someone pushes back? That is what Julian does to Hallie in this book, and what Augustus does to January, and what Aaron does to Catalina. They stress test their counterparts in the story. That is a real test. It happens in real life too. And the Sunshine character has to earn their arc too. And the reason why this trope, Grumpy and Sunshine, hits so hard emotionally comes down to one moment in the story, which is when the Grumpy character softens. And I'm not talking about fully softening. I'm not talking about, a grandiose moment. Just a tiny bit, just a fraction, just a crack. It can be a small kindness that they let pass, or a moment that they forgot to be guarded. In Twisted Love by Huang, we have this whole arc where Alex is doing these small things for Ava behind the scenes, and these are things that he would never admit to, but that reveal who he really is underneath all that control. And when you finally understand why he is like that, the emotional payoff is huge, because we've been watching this guy keep everyone at arm's length, and then we see the soft center. And that's the core fantasy of Grumpy Sunshine, is not this person becomes nice. It's more like this person who stopped believing in goodness, in connection, starts believing again. And that's enormous. As for the Sunshine character, they also have to earn their arc, and sometimes their arc starts with them being truly seen. And this is because the grumpy character doesn't do the social niceties, then he or she doesn't mask or doesn't hide behind fake interest, and they see the Sunshine character more clearly than anyone else, and there's an intimacy in that is just chef's kiss. So why Grumpy and Sunshine sometimes feels flat? Well, a few reasons. The first one is that they write the grumpy character as cruel, not guarded, and this happens when authors blur the line. Like, for example, you can have someone that is cold and guarded, and you can have someone that is actively cruel and says hurtful things to the other person. That's just a no, because the moment that we realize the character is just cruel and mean and not, just has a bad temper, then we stop rooting for them. We stop wanting the Sunshine character to be with them, because there's a huge difference between being short-tempered and being mean for real, and a lot of writers blur that line. I'm not giving any examples, but if you have any, drop them in the comments. The second reason is that the Sunshine character has no interiority. They exist only to save the grumpy character, and that's just a no-no. They have no wants of their own, no fears, no inner life. And where did I put it? I had it in my hand a minute ago. In The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood, she did this very good, because Olive has her own wants, her own fears, her own career stakes, completely separate from Adam's, and she's not there to save him. She just happens to collide with him. Another reason is that the softening happens too quickly. The walls that the grumpy character has need to matter. We need to see them actively working to keep them up against the Sunshine character's actions. Like, for example, in The Hating Game by Sally Thorne, it works because we see Joshua actively trying and to keep that control exterior that he has, but Sally makes it so slow until we find out why he's like that, and so slow to that breaking point that it creates a lot of tension, and that's what keeps us hooked. And another reason is sometimes linked to this one, is that the conflict is all external, and the best Grumpy Sunshine works because the conflict is centered in the grumpy character's inner world. The internal argument between their logic and their defenses and their desire to connect and to let someone in. If that is missing, then the arc is flat and you just have two people who are just opposite on the surface, but there's nothing else going on. So the next time that you pick up a Grumpy Sunshine romance, know that you're not just reading a comfort trope. You're reading about two people with essentially opposing life philosophies and the way that their lives merge and they grow up together. And if you're writing a Grumpy Sunshine romance, give your grumpy character a real reason for the grumpiness, not just, I want to live in the woods and nobody to bother me, which is fine. I mean, it would be fine, but why? I want to know why. And give the Sunshine character a real interior life, a rich interior life, and earn the moment when things between them shift. And that's it. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. Drop me in the comments your recs for Grumpy Sunshine or any romance recs, really. I read everything. And subscribe for more if you're interested. Bye!